Welcome to Serious Software's e-commerce training series. In today's video, we'll be looking at how to create your add-ons and attach them to your products. Once inside our e-commerce admin panel, we'll want to expand merchandise and go to add-ons. In our add-ons menu, you'll see the option for new add-on. You have your search options for name, type, and display order. And then you have some basic information about your current add-ons that you've already set up. Such as name, the type, and the display order. At the end of each row, we have our More Options menu. You can clone an existing add-on to create a new one, or you can delete an add-on. Please note, if you try to delete an add-on, it will ask you to delete any active values inside before completing the deletion. If we click on one of our rows to look at our options, we'll see two tabs, AddOn Details and Values. AddOn Details will define our basic information. We'll give the add-on a title. This is usually how you know this particular add-on or how you are going to map it to control, versus the add-on label is typically what you're going to display to the customer on the product page. They can be the same, but they can also be different if you need them to be. You have your display type. We have four types: drop down, radio, checkbox, and text box. Drop-down checkbox and text box will be the most common for all of our control users. The reason being that control doesn't really have radio buttons when you start thinking about mapping it to control any of the data that you might want to have populated in control from the website. Add-ons in themselves, when we talk about integrations in another video, can map to control variables or control modifiers. So when you are thinking about your add-on, maybe be thinking about where you want that data collected. Now you don't have to map it to a variable or a modifier. If you don't choose to map it to any of those fields, it will show up in the line item description of the product once it is synced over to control. Then you can tell us if the add-on is optional. We will assume it is required if you've set it up and not checked this box. You can give the customer a tooltip. It will show up as a red question mark next to the add-on label, and they can hover over it and give them see the instructions you want them to follow for that particular add-on. And then you have your display order. As we've talked in some other videos, lowest number takes priority. If two add-ons have the same number, they will sort alphabetically. If you feel like you're going to be inserting some add-ons later, maybe add some space in there because they don't re-index automatically. If you need it, we do have some basic inventory function for add-ons as well. You can enable inventory. You can tell us if we should still sell it or disable it if it's out of stock, and then what message we should show to customers. The second tab is our Values tab. And on our Values tab, this is where we create the options that the customer is seeing. In the case of a text box, this is where we create what that text box is. Is it a name? Is it a phone number? Is it an address? Is it just instruction information? In the case of a checkbox, this is what is the checkbox and what does the checkbox represent when it is checked. In the case of a drop-down list that we're looking at right now, this is the items inside of my drop-down list. We have our option to add a value, and then we have the options that have already been added. So the name, any pricing information about it, if we're using inventory, what's our on hand value, our display order, and if we have any internal SKUs for that option. We do have a clone and delete as well here at the end of each row if you need to quickly add some additional options. And then the little star here, which we'll see here in a second, will represent that this is the default answer. So if I use this on a product, it's going to have gift basket pre-selected, but they can choose one of the other two options if they want. If I click on the row, it'll show me the settings for that particular row. This will also mimic the new value screen. I'll have my value label, so what should it read in the drop-down list or next to the checkbox or next to the text field. What's my SKU? If you don't have one, just replicate the value label. If this is the default value, go ahead and check that, and then you'll see your little star on the other screen. What's my pricing rules? Now, this can be positive or negative pricing, because what this does is it adds or subtracts from the base price of the product when it's selected. So in this case, I'm saying when they choose gift basket, add $5 to the item on the storefront. I could do a negative $5 and give them a discount if that is an option. So maybe they choose to do their own installation or their own removal, and then I can take some of that value away if it's applicable. You do have your on-hand value here for your inventory settings. You do have some shipping rules. Now, shipping will usually match whatever the product was set up for. But in the off chance you might send it separately, you can define different rules. What's my display order? And then if I have any type of attributes that I want to attach to this particular add-on. That is the main setup of add-ons. However, I do want to look at some of the other value types. If we let's go down to this installation kit. Most of the screen is the same, except you'll see that our display type is checkbox, and then our values tab is going to have an option because I do need to say what that checkbox represents. And next to my checkbox, it's going to say include installation kit, and then I'm not charging them for it in that value. Now, e-commerce will support multiple checkboxes, so you could have multiple values and they could have multiple checkboxes. But again, control doesn't typically support multiple checkboxes. So in the most case, if you're trying to map to a checkbox in control, you'll only have one value on this tab. That way control can interpret that correctly, because during the transition, the database to database, it'll be a 1 or a 0, and then control can interpret that and check the box or have it unchecked. We also do have a text box example here for our name. So we also have a tooltip here. You don't really need the HTML tags. You can just put in the straight text, and that's what the customer will see. But on our values tab, what we're seeing here is we actually have two text boxes attached to this one add-on. So it gets sent over to control as one add-on that is equal to name. But I have two entries. I have one for enter name and one for enter phone. And then what will happen when I send that over to control, in my case, I'm sending it over to the line item description. I will have enter name for sign, colon, what is the answer, enter the phone number for sign, enter colon, and then answer. So we've looked at a couple of different types. The last part of add-on setup is to attach it to our products. So if I go back to my product screen and I choose my product that I want to have an add-on for, and I go to my add-ons tab, I would see any add-ons that are already attached to this product here as well. And I could remove that if I don't need it anymore using the delete option. Or I can come in here and I can add an additional one. So maybe I want that name option, since this is a name badge and it's not a customizable artwork. I might want to include their name and phone number on their badge, so I need to get that information. Once I've checked it, I can hit add and stay on the screen and keep adding additional options, or I can hit add and close. That will close the overlay window. It's added my name add-on to my product, and it's saved my product, so everything's good to go. If you have any additional questions about setting up add-ons, please join us on our e-commerce Q&A session or email us at ecommerce@sirius.com. Thanks. Have a great day.